Welcome back. So remember last week we read a book about how you make your life bigger than just yourself. How you make a community. And today's book is also about making a community and stepping out into the world. Let's read. The Antlered Ship, written by Doshka Slater, with illustrations by the Fan Brothers. Doshka was born in Boston, a daughter of two writers. So, unsurprisingly, she became a writer. She lives in California and is married to a teacher, and they have one son, Milo. She likes hiking, yoga, swimming, theater, and art. The Fan Brothers were born in the United States, but grew up in Toronto, Canada, where they now live. Terry spends his days and nights creating magical paintings, portraits, and prints, while his brother Eric has a passion for vintage bikes, clockwork contraptions, and impossible dreams. The day the antlered ship arrived, Marco wondered about the wide world. He had so many questions. Why do some songs make you happy and others make you sad? Why don't trees ever talk? How deep does the sun go when it sinks into the sea? But when he posed these questions to the other foxes, they grew silent. "What does that have to do with chicken stew?" they would ask. So Marco went down to the harbor to see the ship. 3 deer greeted him at the gangplank. Marco wasn't surprised to learn that they were lost. "We hope to hire a seaworthy crew," explained Sylvia the captain. "I'm afraid we aren't very good sailors." "I will join you," Marco said. He thought to himself, "I will search the seas for foxes who know the answers to my questions." A pigeon named Victor volunteered along with his entire flock. "We want to have adventures," they cooed. "Welcome aboard," Captain Sylvia said. "We're going to a wonderful island with tall, sweet grass and short, sweet trees. When we get there, we'll eat a delectable dinner." But the voyage was more difficult than anyone expected. It rained. Waves crashed over the sides of the deck. "Why is water so wet?" Marco wondered. The pigeons weren't used to the hard work of raising and lowering the sails. After the first day, they went below decks to play checkers and stayed there. The deer worried about sharp rocks and fierce pirates, and feeling seasick, they huddled in the bow and waited for something bad to happen. After days of drifting and dining on crackers, the animals were damp and cranky. "We should have stayed in the woods," Sylvia said. "Deers aren't supposed to go to sea." "We should have stayed in the park," added Victor. "Pigeons aren't supposed to do hard labor." Marco eyed the deer and the pigeons. Foxes aren't supposed to be vegetarian, he said. Still, we must do the best we can. That evening, Marco found a recipe book in the galley and cooked a warm and reviving stew. "Should we look at the charts?" he asked after everyone had eaten. "We might find adventure here," said Victor. "And trouble here," said Sylvia. "But we'll find the island with tall, sweet grass and short, sweet trees here." And perhaps foxes, too, Marco thought. Foxes with answers. As they plotted their course, the wind picked up. The storm clouds thinned into marvelous swirls. "Raise the sails!" Sylvia cried. In the morning, they came to the maze of sharp rocks, each one large enough to tear the bottom from the boat. But the pigeons flew ahead, tracing a path through the shoals and sharp rocks to the safety of the open sea. The next afternoon, a pirate ship burst from behind a rocky island. "Turn over your treasure," the pirate captain bellowed, "or we'll put a hole in your helm." "Lower the antlers," Sylvia commanded. The ships clashed and crashed and smashed until the pirates turned and fled. That evening, an island appeared on the horizon with tall waving grasses and short swaying trees. "We've found it!" Sylvia cried. "We've triumphed!" Victor cooed. "Do you see any foxes?" Marco asked. The deer grazed the grass and nibbled the trees. The pigeons told stories of their adventures to a flock of admiring seagulls. Marco scoured the island for foxes. But he didn't find any. "I have failed," Marco told Victor and Sylvia. "No foxes. No one to answer my questions." "What questions?" Victor asked. Marco took a deep breath. "Do islands like being alone? Do waves look more like horses or swans? And what's the best way to find a friend you can talk to?" "That last one's easy," Sylvia said. "You make friends by eating together." "I disagree," said Victor. "You make friends by having adventures together." "Maybe you're both right," Marco said. "But I think you make friends by asking them questions." "Well then," mused Sylvia, "should we head home tomorrow? Or should we visit the island of scrumptious shrubbery? Are 2 adventures enough?" asked Victor. "Or should we have at least one more?" "Is it better to know what's going to happen?" wondered Marco. "Or better to be surprised?" There were so many questions left to answer, and so many more to ask. So, in the morning, they raised the anchor and hoisted the heavy sails. They knew now that the wind would come and go. The clouds would sometimes make marvelous swirls and sometimes make them wet, and that everything they hoped to find could be found aboard an antlered ship on the way to wherever they were going. The end. So what did you think? Did you like this book? I loved this book. The pictures were so cool, and the antlered ship was awesome looking, wasn't it? You know, I was thinking this book is kind of a parable about life. You know, our life is a journey, and sometimes there are things that are scary or don't turn out the way we expect. But the best way to get through those times is with other people, or in this book, other animals, right? Together they kept on going through that scary storm, through the pirate attack, through Fox's disappointment that he couldn't find the answers to all of his questions. They had become a community that cared about each other. And in the end, they realized they were better together than alone. You know, the Holy Spirit that God has given us helps us realize that we are all God's children. We are a community with a mission to love and care for each other and our neighbors, because we're all on this planet together, sailing around the sun. And just like the animals in the antlered ship, we are better when we're working together than all on our own. Bye-bye. See you next week.